What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Scores! He did it again!
I just killed him. Before the game, I just killed John Madden because of a stink bomb.
Split special teamers, and now Brown is off to the races. Hurdles, kicks him in.
Giants are coming off a worse week than Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, that was the most exciting thing to happen tonight.
Game's over. Game is finally fucking be over.
Ed, you got to turn your mic on. I think. Got his hand on the button.
And now, our feature program.
Yes, okay. Alrighty, we got audio. That
Yay.
was weird. Why is my phone... And what is up the shirt? Oh, somebody's watching. One of us is watching. We were having audio difficulties because for some reason it stopped working.
No, Travis, not tonight.
No.
I have a headache.
You got a headache. All right. Well, hi guys. How you doing now that our audio is working again?
Totally lovely
Good thing you fixed it.
All right.
But I'm doing great. So to all the people that didn't hear it the first time because they didn't hear it because the audio was not working, I'm always doing good. But no.
It was weird because I could see everybody talking before, and then all of a sudden I mute it, and I came back, and it wasn't working.
Right. No, it's just well, you know, that's part of the show. That's what happens here sometimes.
Yep.
So. Oh.
You adapt and overcome.
Oh, and for those that are watching, Jeremy is actually on the show. It might look like he's just a frozen thing in the corner. He's being the cuck today.
Yeah.
He's taking Chris's place.
He's
Being the
munching.
cuck in the corner.
And Chris is also watching the Bears game because they might actually have a chance to win, a second game this season.
Are they playing Fields? Is he playing a couple seasons? I mean, series?
He should. I can't see not. He's a second-year player. He needs the reps.
Yeah.
He does if he wants to have a better career in 5 years.
Right now, Chicago's up 10-0 over the Seahawks, but I'm willing to bet the Seahawks haven't played a single starter all day.
I mean, I think you have to. I mean, if
they don't have a starter anymore. Remember, he left for Denver.
If you're Aaron Rodgers, you're Tom Brady, or Matthew Stafford, yeah, you don't play probably any preseason games. But pretty much anyone else needs to be playing some preseason games. You need some reps.
Yep. Chris is messing with his TV.
Well, it's showing it from the beginning.
Oh, you need to fast forward? Yeah, there's 8:32 to go in the second half. Well, second quarter.
And this TV is all jacked up because I never use it.
That's okay, because you know what that is not? That is not college football.
That's okay, Chris. You can talk. You can talk about. You can watch the game after that way.
Yeah, because once you're done talking college football, then you're gonna just zone out anyway. We know this.
Well, yeah, because I don't want pro. Yeah. Anyway.
except for right now.
Very
in the
little.
preseason game.
You watch very little pro.
Very, very little.
Although
pro.
the fantasy has made you watch more pro than ever before.
Yeah, I've watched more in the last few years than I really ever did. So yeah, college football. So they finally released the official preseason poll, AP poll. That is, the college football playoff poll doesn't come out till I think week 9. I'm just gonna go through the top 10 because, yeah, that's really all that matters.
You probably should just do the top 15 and stop at 5 because the top 4 are crap. They're always the same top 4 in the last 10 years. No one cares about them. But go ahead.
Yep.
I mean, sorry. Don't know what to tell you on that one, brother.
Chris cares
someone's
because
cranky tonight.
his Ohio State is usually in the top 5.
Yes.
So at number 10, we have Baylor. At number 9, we have Oklahoma. At 8, we have that team up north. At
That's another day for people that don't know. I'm joking.
Which team up north is that?
The Michigan
It's
team.
called the Michiganen Stutes.
That would be the Tom Brady team.
You mean Brady's Almada?
Yeah. That he didn't do shit at.
Yeah.
Well, they kept trying to replace him.
I wonder why.
Number 7 is Utah. 6 is Texas A&M. 5 is Notre Dame. 4, which I believe is super high for this team, is Clemson.
Really?
3 is Georgia. And they received 3 first-place votes. Number 2 is Ohio State. They received 6 first-place votes. And number 1, Alabama, receiving 54 first-place votes. So it was almost.
Okay. So Chris, do you think preseason-wise, I'm asking Chris because he is the college football guru here,
Yep.
that Alabama should be number 1? Do they deserve all those votes? I mean, do you think? I mean, I know you might be a little biased, but you're pretty unbiased when it comes to actual talent on teams.
I think they have the most talent returning.
Okay.
I mean, and that's part of the reason Ohio State is as high as they are, is because they finished last year with the number 1 offense in the country. They're predicted to have the number 1 offense in the country this year. So I think that's why Ohio State's so high. Alabama really didn't lose much. They lost a couple receivers, maybe some linemen, but they didn't lose near as much as Georgia did. Georgia lost quite a bit. Clemson, why they're there, I have no idea. I don't think they're going to be that good. Notre Dame could even be high. They lost.
I hate
a lot.
Notre Dame being ever high for any reason because I don't think they play any, teams worth playing for the most part. I mean, I know they're playing under the ACC now, but as an independent. But
they have some games this year. I mean, they opened the season. The season opener is the number 2 versus the number 5 team.
Yes,
So
which is a good
that's going
one.
to be good.
And hopefully the number 5 team gets demolished by the number 2 team.
All right, so
Yeah.
so I want to know, where is the Raging Cajuns on that list?
They are not on this list, and they did not receive any votes.
Oh, wow.
Well, because that's just what they are, because they're the Raging Nobodies.
Well, I looked just to see if they maybe got votes, and they didn't. Appalachian State got 4. Air Force got 4. And these are just votes, not necessarily first place votes by any means.
Votes to be ranked, yes.
Yeah. So,
well,
maybe
Clemson as high as they are, because if you look at the rest of the teams, you have to think, okay, well, who are you going to place above Clemson? I mean, as much as I hate saying it, I can see Notre Dame being above Clemson, maybe even Utah.
I would put Utah, and I would probably put Utah above Clemson, honestly.
But there's not many teams out there you can actually put above Clemson, and that's probably why they are where they are.
I mean, they deserve to be in the top 7 or 8.
Right.
Maybe. I think Michigan honestly could be, 6 or 7. But I think I do think they got the top 3 pretty right. I mean, you could make the argument Georgia is the national title or defending national champion.
The champion until you lose it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they lost so many players to the draft. I think that's why they are where they are.
That makes sense. Did anybody else notice how Christopher said, I called him Christopher. Sorry, Chris. How Chris said Michigan
Instead of the team up north without correction.
I do it
He's-
sometimes.
He does it
'Cause
without
he's not
realizing it,
thinking
but
about
if
it.
he thinks about it, he's like gonna throw up in his mouth.
Mhm.
He's being professional right now.
I try to be. All right. So, moving on from the rankings, the Big Ten just completed a 7-year, $7 billion media rights agreement with Fox, CBS, and NBC.
Holy crap!
Yeah. So the deal will begin July 1st, 2023, and run through the end of the 2030 athletic year. Specific terms haven't been disclosed. The CBS payout in year one of the agreement is lower since it will still be carrying SEC games during the 2023 season and will only air 7 Big Ten contests. But the Big Ten's per school distribution will turn upwards in year 2 of the deal when new members USC and UCLA enter the conference. And then it'll rise after year 3.
So, and I know you guys talked about this the very first episode this year, and I was missing it, but all the changing with the different teams, they're still called the Big Ten, and I know is it Texas A&M and who was it? Who's the other team that jumped ship? The 2 big teams.
A&M and Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, yes.
They're going to be moving to the SEC, yeah.
Right. So you have all these people in the SEC. So my question here is, I know how the NFL does it. They have games on Fox and they have games on NBC, and they tend to play the national games, but then they also have the local games. Like here, we're going to see Dallas and New Orleans and Atlanta and Tampa Bay play over a national game sometimes. They can't do that in college football? Because, I mean, I know that they're with the Big Ten, but nobody in Florida most likely is going to want to watch a Big Ten game on CBS. They'd much rather watch a ACC or an SEC game, and you figure they'd be able to work that out.
Right. And I think I'm not 100% sure how they're going to do it, because I have seen it in the past where when I lived in Virginia, like I would get, the Buckeyes would be playing at 3:30. I'd get the Virginia Tech game. Right. Even though, so they do that.
Okay.
It'll still be like that. It's just certain. These are the companies they have a specific media deal with. It doesn't necessarily mean where you're at, you're going to have to watch this game. The only game that's usually like that is the 7:30 game because it's the primetime game.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. And
Usually nationally broadcast.
And people do if you like college football, you want to watch your team, especially in your same area, but you'll watch a top 10 team playing, a top 20 team usually. And that's probably what they're doing. Uh-oh. Yeah, Chris is looking for something right now, I can tell.
Well, one of the tabs I had open isn't.
Well, didn't the Big Ten just sign a $3 or $5 billion deal for televising their games?
That's what he just said.
That's what this is.
That's what we were just talking about.
$7 billion media deal.
Yeah.
Can it go up to 10 if they add more teams too?
It might. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to fully dive into it.
Okay, so thanks for catching us all up there, Jeremy, for the the people that are lagging. I mean, he was obviously, adding something to our wonderful list today, I think.
Yep.
No, he was not. So
I'm shopping over here.
Oh, okay.
You're always shopping.
Some sad news coming out of Florida International. Luke Knox. All right. He's a football player at Florida International, and he's the younger brother of Buffalo Bills tight end Dawson Knox. Died Wednesday. So last night. The cause was not revealed, though university said police do not suspect foul play. So I'm not 100% sure if maybe it's, just freak accident or, a medical condition or what, but.
Well, okay. So in other words, the cause of death wasn't initially apparent. So a drive-by shooting or a robbery would be initially apparent. So this person is dead and someone could have killed them on purpose, but they don't know.
Yeah.
That's a shame. I had no idea. I don't know who he is. I know who his older brother, who he said.
Yeah.
I knew him, but I didn't know him, but
You
I've heard
know
of
him?
him.
You can you
Yeah.
get us tickets?
yeah. Can I get tickets now? I knew Kevin Knox, the Buffalo Bills wide receiver in the '90s. He actually went to school with me.
Did he really?
Yeah, Kevin Knox. Yeah, he sure did. I played on football. I played on a team with him. We won the state championship in 1988, and I was on the football team.
Were you the water boy?
I was the tight end.
Really?
Yes, and I
He
quit.
came out as wide receiver though.
The thing was, we started the year, and I wanted to be the starting tight end. I think I told you this before. And my coach said, "No, you can't because we have a senior, and you'll be tight end for the next 2 years. He's the tight end this year." And I said, "Well, if I don't get to be starting tight end, I don't want to play." And he said, "Well, then get off my team." So I got off the team, and we won state. So I didn't get a state ring. I didn't do anything with the football team. I'm not even in the picture. So yeah.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
So basically, the senior that replaced you went to the that you didn't want to sit behind, ended up in the NFL.
Yeah. Well, I can't remember the tight end guy, but yeah, Kevin Knox to my left or whatever. The quarterback, Kenny Felder, played for the Royals in baseball. He was drafted there. Yeah. So we had some pretty talented players on that Niceville football team back in '88.
Things you
And
know.
of course, the year before that, we got demolished by a young man by the name of Emmett Smith, who ran all over us like we were nobody. So that's I told you my claim to fame on that one. Where I tried to tackle him and did not.
And he ran you over like a $3 bill.
Yes, he did. He did. Boom. I mean, I did move his trajectory from going straight to the right a little bit, so the cornerbacks knocked him out of bounds about 20 yards later.
Oh,
I never
jeez.
hit so hard. And it was smooth too. I was just like, whoa. Powerful man. Powerful man.
All right,
And-
so I think you got one more thing for the college, right, Chris?
Yep. One more thing. There's not a lot because games haven't started yet. But the favorites right now, the top three to make it or to play in the national title game, Alabama is a plus 180, Ohio State is a plus 300, and Georgia is a plus 425.
All right, the better question is who you putting your money on, Chris?
To go and play in the title game or to win it?
How about both?
I'm going to say Alabama, Ohio State in the national title game, and I reserve my pick until I see their defense play. I definitely do think it's going to be Alabama, Ohio State.
Well, I'm going to say, this might be crazy. It's not that crazy. It makes sense. I know Alabama's number one until they lose. I believe I can fly. I know they're number one, and until they lose a game, they will be number one. And even after they lose a game, they'll probably end up number one by the end of the season anyhow, because that's what the fans do in the college. But to me, whoever wins from Ohio State, Notre Dame should be the favorite to win the national championship at that point. The very first game of the year, because yes, Ohio State's a powerhouse. I hate Notre Dame because of the fact that, well, the Notre Dame, and they're always independent, and they just kind of float themselves on top 10 whenever you turn around. But they are a good team. So if they beat out Ohio State first game, it's going to be tough for Ohio State to come back in unless Notre Dame loses. And Ohio State is not that far behind Alabama power-wise. So I think the winner of that game should be considered the favorite to win the national championship.
Wouldn't disagree necessarily. I
Necessarily.
definitely think at least, you could make the argument depending on, I don't know who does Alabama play the first week. Let me look real quick.
I'm going to guess. It's going to be.
They play Utah State.
Yeah.
To me, if they go, they beat Utah State by 60 points, which is probably more than likely what's going to happen. But Ohio State, blows out the number 5 team by 24 or something. To me, Ohio State jumps them, at least in the second week, Reiki.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. And because if we're playing Utah State, it's like playing Orange Mountain Technical Institute.
And then week 2 they play Texas. Alabama plays Texas. Week 3 they play University of Louisiana Monroe, and then Vanderbilt, Arkansas. That should be a good game. I think Arkansas is going to be a sleeper in the SEC this year.
I think Arkansas will be too. I think Arkansas we're still going to lose 3 games, but that's going to be good for Arkansas. Oh, and Mississippi State. That's for Kevin. I know he's not listening to us, but that's for you, Kevin. Mississippi State all the way, baby. Remember, it was Ole Miss. It was Mississippi State. Nate, please correct me if I'm wrong.
He usually does.
Yeah.
Even before I say anything, he usually does.
Yeah. Isn't college starting up this weekend, or is it next weekend?
There's some games that are this weekend, I think.
Anybody that we should start paying attention to?
I'll tell you in just a second. I got to look.
I think Florida. Wait, Florida is ranked 11, I think, or 12, and they're playing top 10 team the second year, I think.
No, it doesn't start till next week.
Games don't start till next week.
27th. Yep.
So that's when you get to give us a list of games that we should start watching.
Yep. So next week I'll have a list. Which, looking at this, there's one.
There's one game next week that we should start paying attention to.
Well, that's the game I would, if I had to pick out of all these games, that's the game I would watch.
Ah.
And it's the Nebraska Northwestern one, which I talked about last week, being in Ireland.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Mm.
I almost forgot about that.
Yep, that one's playing. It's 12:30 on Fox, and they're playing from Aviva Stadium in Dublin.
Yeah, don't sleep on Northwestern.
Yeah, but then moving on from that, you have, starting on the 1st of September, you have Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of college football.
Sweet.
So much football. So much football.
I'll have to get the kids to start watching that.
Put
it. It'll be
you have
something
game
like
on Sunday and Monday.
Oh, geez.
So you have the 1st through the 5th, but you only have one game on Sunday, and that's Florida State LSU.
That
and then Sunday, September 4th on ABC at 7:30, and then Monday, September 5th, you have Clemson and Georgia Tech at 8 on ESPN.
That'll be a good yardstick for Clemson to see how good they actually are against Georgia Tech. I mean, they're not a great team, but they can surprise you.
Well, yeah, they're one of those weird teams that can possibly jump out. But yeah, but that is all.
That is all she wrote.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's get to some NFL stuff. The first thing I want to start off with was news that broke this afternoon, actually, when I was heading my way home. Deshaun Watson. No, actually, it was this morning when I was actually on my way to go eat and drink and be merry.
Don't you work anymore?
Yeah. It was one of those that I was texted, bring shorts with you, and I said, okay. I was wondering why. And then I got to work, and my boss told me that Bob was making food, and we were leaving at 11. I said, oh, okay. I'm like, do I have to take hours? He's like, no, you're getting paid for this. This is a team beer building experience.
Team beering experience.
Beering, because we got a bunch of new guys, so we're team building.
A bunch of what guys?
New guys.
Oh, new. I thought you said nude.
Oh,
like, what?
No.
What do you do for a living now? Because I must have forgotten.
He's thinking about nude guys.
I don't know why.
Smitty's always thinking about nude guys.
No. If it ain't in my mouth, it's on my mind.
Well, anyhow, so Deshaun Watson has now officially been suspended for 11 games and fined $5 million after the settlement between the NFL and the NFLPA. He is eligible to play Week 13 against the Texans. So, I know Gail's opinion, but I want to know yours opinion, and then I'm going to tell you what Gail says.
Gail says he's being railroaded?
Gail says that he shouldn't play a single down this season at all, and then it should be over and done with. He should not see the field, and the fine should be his whole paycheck for this year. And
that's less than $5 million.
Yeah,
I hope
and like half of next year's basically. She wanted like $10 million right off the top. This guy,
his paycheck next year is like $47 million.
Yeah. But
well, I mean, he was going to walk away from it regardless.
Don't disagree with the full season by any means, but
it should have been a full season. They should have set the precedent because guess what? Now someone gets all these allegations like this. If there's not this many, they're gonna say, "Well, I have half as many. I should have half the suspension, half the fine."
Yep.
But
I
it's
could
true.
see. So I like kind of off. What Gail's kind of saying, right? So if they suspended him 11 games, they could have fined him more money for less games suspended.
Yeah.
It
Like
offsets
fine him 10 mil and 11 games
Yeah.
instead of the whole season and like 5 mil.
Right.
Or they
And,
just set a precedent like this and say, even though I'm going to play devil's advocate after I say this, for every allegation that was proven, 1 game suspension, so 24 games,
26.
26 games, and $1 million for each of those games, 26 million.
There
do
you
that
go.
too.
That would have been a straight whatever, and then everyone else. Well, I've only had 14. Well, that's 14 game suspension and $14 million
Yep.
against you. But I make the league minimum. Doesn't matter. You're screwed. You're screwed.
Or even if they did 2 allegations per game,
Right.
that's still 13 games and 13 mil.
Yep.
Exactly. So
it boils down to whatever negotiation that the NFL and the NFL Players Association,
Came
what
up
they did
with.
behind closed doors.
right, because most of these young ladies settled out of court anyhow, and they also sued Texans, and there's that
Yes.
part of it too, because apparently the Texans were complicit in the situation that was going on. There was a
They were
non-disclosure
they were
agreement
probably-
being signed and all.
I mean, the fact he settled pretty much shows that he knew if it went to a court, he was gonna lose.
He was gonna be
Right, but
screwed.
see, from what I
Or there
read,
was at least enough reasonable doubt that he could. It wasn't an open and shut. This is just a false allegation.
and
Yeah,
he's
Which
thinking,
was what
okay,
he says since day one.
well, I mean, 'cause he
Now
could
nobody
even-
will ever know if it was true or not because these ladies are probably going to drop it because they got so much money from him.
Oh, if I'm one of these ladies, I'm writing me a book,
Yeah.
True.
and
Just
I'm
saying.
making
Well,
some money.
no, probably in the settlement there was NDA.
It wouldn't be the first time that an NDA was signed, and after a settlement, and somebody wrote a book, and they made
what's his
tons of
name?
money. And
Jerry Jones knows that one very
Yeah.
well first-handedly.
But the more I looked into, because I knew a little bit about it, but I researched it a lot today, and I mentioned it on a little texting and stuff. Some things that he did, apparently, like I said, we don't know because we haven't.
yeah,
no
they're
more
all
clearly.
technically allegations still.
Right. Okay. Sometimes he would like move his body away where his penis touched the woman's hand. Okay. That's sexual assault. Absolutely. Some of these were coerced
Coerced.
to, yes, coerced. Thank you, to pleasure him. Now they didn't have to. They could have not done it. So, what kind of power? He don't pay them. He's not like their boss. So, what power does he have over these women to say, okay, please do that thing to my member down there, and until I feel pleasure, and they could just have said no and walked out, and I mean, I guess they might have lost their job over it, but that's when they can sue at that point in time. So, I don't understand. Is this why it was 11 games and 5 million? Because some of the women, and I'm not blaming victims, but how much of it is a victim when you go down on someone by your own volition?
So we were actually talking about this, me and Gail, and she's like, okay, so I believe like the first 5 people that came forward, more likely than not, they did have this happen to them, where to the point where it was assault or some sort of thing. But then you always have the people that after the fact, after the initial people come out, that pile on and say, oh yeah, this happened to me too. They could have been all on board with it because he's a famous football player. He is a top tier quarterback. He's famous, and they think they're going to get a massive payday, and they probably did.
Oh yeah.
But it's just that they could have been all on board with it at the start, but then they realized I can make a 5 years worth of pay in 10 hours just by saying he made me do something that at the time I had no problem doing.
Yes.
So it's
So
one
I
of
agree with
those
you.
that it's like you have a whole, I call it the pile-on effect, where after the fact they like, oh well, if she's gonna get paid, I need to get paid, kind of thing.
Right. Because there was a whole lot more, like I said in the messaging, that up to at least 66 different women he had appointments with, and most of them didn't sue, and most of them said, yeah, he propositioned me.
Yeah.
But either they said yes and they didn't care, they got paid well for it, or they said no. But either way, it went away. There was no charges because it was consensual. So, I mean, did he... Because if he straight up raped these women or forced them to do this, like physically forced them, that's a different story altogether. And then he should never play another down.
Right.
That is not seen
But
to be
unfortunately,
what
because it was settled out of court, we will never know.
Good point.
Unless a tell-all book comes out.
Hey, Chicago just scored a touchdown on a punt.
So my other question
I
is...
don't know if it was harsh enough or not.
So my other question is, the NFL is great about trying to make storylines. For some odd reason, they think the games don't make a big enough storyline for themselves. Do you think they decided on 11 games? Because that is a weird number. It's not like 10 games, 15 games, even
15's
numbers.
a weird number too.
But they're even numbers or multiples of 5 usually. Any kind of suspension is always an even number or multiple of 5 because you see it's 2 games, 4 games, 5 games, 6, 8, 10, and usually that's about as high as they go unless they do a full season. But they went 11 games, which puts him. He needs a week of practice, so he's not going to play that week 12, but he's going to get paid for week 12. But week 13, the first game back is against the Texans.
So they're saying it's week 13 because they're buys before that. So he's suspended for 11 games. The 12th game is against the Texans.
So week 12 he actually has. Yeah, so week 12 they have a bye week.
It's before that.
Yeah, it's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, it's during the season before that point. It's just the first game he's going to be back for is the week 13 game.
Yes.
Because in theory they have 11 games and a bye.
Right, but that 13th game is against the Texans.
Yes, but it's against the Texans. Do you think that they're using that they decided on that number as a storyline?
They definitely used it as a ploy.
Yeah, and it's probably was a bargaining chip.
Yeah, the whole Baker Mayfield thing. His first game is going back to the Browns. You know they're using that as a huge. Baker's going to be the starter there, and he's going to go right back and face them first week.
Yeah, it's all over Facebook. Like the Baker's starting against the Browns.
Yeah.
Yeah, the NFL will look for any added storylines because although they're already pretty much cover the sports media during the season, if they can draw more attention from the normal sports listening fans into listening to it, watching it, whatnot, they're going to. They're looking to bump their numbers as much as possible.
It's almost like you're saying the NFL is scripted.
Oh, it definitely is.
So there's no greatest of all time. There's just a bunch of good actors. So.
well, no, some people have deals with the devil.
Yes, some people do have deals with the devil. And some people can't make deals with Ross on a yacht in the middle of the damn Atlantic.
Smitty. Nuts.
What kind of nuts you got?
Those are my buck nuts.
Those are your buck nuts?
Yep.
Do they go in your buck?
Ooh. Do you like buck sex?
I opened that door, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Yes. And it's never going to close.
You know this isn't talking stuff, right?
Yeah.
They're buck nuts.
Those are actually kind of cool. Is that like a thing for Ohio State? I didn't know that.
Ohio State's people are weird.
I gotta get me some buck nuts. I'm gonna go to eBay. And
College football fan
Etsy.
people are weird.
Yes.
Etsy. Yes, we are.
Jeremy's like, I don't want to be a weird college fan. I'm picking the worst team in the league, so nobody will ask me about it.
You should go out. You should go with the Gamecocks because that way you go Cox, go Cox. I mean,
well, so apparently they sell shirts and stuff that just says Cox across it.
Yes, they do.
I mean, the Border Bash is one of the best events to go to. It really is. It's just a big old party.
All right,
But
guys.
I think you probably went last year. You could have. You probably know.
Yeah.
I didn't go. I had no idea what's.
So we had our first full week of preseason games. How many games did you guys watch? Jeremy.
I mean, I watched the Thursday night Pats game to some extent.
Yeah.
And I had it on here and there throughout the weekend. Wasn't focused on that. I was a little preoccupied with moving TVs and
Yes, because now you have
prepping
a
space.
TV outside.
Yes, now I have my TV outside. My space outside's all set up, and
So at least when I come down and I want to go have a cigarette, I don't even have to stop watching TV. I can just watch it outside. Plus, you're out like it's nice and warm out there, and it's not like when we went down in February.
yeah,
Right.
it's gonna be. I'm gonna be able to watch out there almost all year, and Maureen wants to get curtains like to block the sun.
Yeah.
So even if it is kind of cool and windy, I can just pull the curtains and it's gonna block most of the wind flow. And we have that little heater, the little fire pit, propane fire pit.
You got to
in there,
get curtains that roll down, not the
Well,
ones
no,
that go
we're
side
just
to side.
we're gonna get fabric ones that go side to side.
I was gonna say you need the ones that go down so that way as the sun, once the sun is like high, you can start rolling them down a little
Well,
bit,
we had one of those. The issue is the space. There's no real good way to hang it anymore with the lights and everything else there.
We'll move the lights.
No, she wants those little hanging light bulb things.
Yeah. So you're saying you only caught one preseason game?
Maybe two.
Okay.
I mean, I
Smitty, how
had
many
it
did you
on.
get?
I probably watched more replays of them than I did the games.
Yeah.
I know. Chris saw absolutely none of them.
Look, I tried watching a couple of them, and I got
Preseason.
I was getting pissed because a lot of them here, for whatever reason, were on NFL Network, and hey, this is the game that's supposed to be on. I'd be watching it, and then it goes split screen to another game, and then they'd go over to the other game, and they would never come back to the game I started watching.
You're talking about the Steelers, Seahawks, and the Cowboys Broncos game. I bet.
Yeah.
I got and Shannon got pissed too. She's like, "Mother," like 'cause she wanted to watch the Steelers, and like a quarter of the way, not even the full quarter, they switched over to the Broncos game, and never went back. So,
Actually, I did watch a good amount Friday night. I guess I forgot about that. I was hanging out in the garage, smoking cigars. So
yeah.
Yeah. The best part is Journey has a garage TV, patio TV now, plus a living room TV, plus an upstairs TV, plus a game room TV where the wet bar is.
the second living room TV.
The
Never
kids'
miss a
living
play.
room.
Never miss a play. I caught maybe 8 or 10.
That's a lot of games.
10 out of 16.
Well, there was the ones on TV like Chris was talking about, like the Dallas game against Denver, Pittsburgh versus Seattle. On my computer I have a streaming service, and I got to watch the Bucks versus Dolphins. I got to watch my third string quarterback play all the game, and going back and forth through like the Bills. Who the Bills play? The Colts. Watched a little bit of that. I think the Bengals. Bengals play somebody. Yes, they played somebody.
Yeah, the Bengals played.
That was Friday though.
Yeah, I forget who they played. They got railroaded at the very beginning, and they kind of slowly pulled their way back into
I
it.
think it was either San Francisco played the Packers, so I watched a little bit of that.
I think it was the Raiders.
Maybe. So, I watched quite a few games. I mean, I watched the whole thing of Miami, but I only watched bits and pieces of the other ones, going back and forth.
So I ended up catching probably over the weekend. I forgot about Friday night's game, so I didn't watch the Green Bay game. I watched or listened to probably every game on Saturday. And I listened to every game that was on the NFL Network on Saturday. And like I tried to watch the other games, but by the time I remembered that they were also playing, the games were just awful. So I just would flip back. And Sunday I had them just kind of going on in the background because I was doing brakes on my car, fixing Gail's van.
Well, I mean, if it's not really your team, I can see you not watching a preseason game.
Well,
unless you're.
I'm trying to do studying for because I lost a good portion of my top picks on fantasy, so I need to see if any of these rookies are gonna pan out.
Well, that's true. So that's what you got to check out. So that's the reason I watch the preseason games, because I want to see, competitions like, okay, this wide receiver is the number 3 wide receiver trying to make the team.
Yeah.
But they're playing against the second string cornerback. So, are they battling which who's going to make that team?
Right. Is
I
he
like-
that much
especially the
better? Is he that much better to make the team kind of thing?
Right.
Yeah. So my biggest issue now is I feel like any of those big players, like those rookies and whatnot, that really are impacting it, they're showing it more at the team versus team work, like the joint practices. That's what I was looking for.
Yes.
Where by the time they get to the actual game, there's like the top half of the roster isn't playing.
Exactly. And
So it's like the people you're looking at are those special teams, possible players that they're on the bubble to make special teams if they can contribute somewhere else.
right. And that's exactly what it is. And like I was watching Miami, and our third string quarterback Thompson played the whole time. He looked beautiful. He did. But he's playing against the third and fourth,
Yeah.
string defense. But he still looked really good. And what really bothered me watching this, because I know it's preseason, our offensive line is still atrocious. It's like, you know what?
Are you sure those weren't last year's starters?
Well, the thing is, 2 of them are this year's starters. But they're on the side. They're playing on the side that the 2 new guys we got in, Armstead and Collins, I think, the 2 studs we picked up.
Oh yeah.
Those 2 weren't playing. So the 2 that we have playing on the other side of the line, we put them on that side, the opposite side, to see. And they just, it was like, okay, it doesn't matter how fast your team is if the quarterback can't get the ball away because he's on his ass. It's not going to matter. So, we spent all that kind of money and did all those wonderful things, but we didn't fix our line that well. I mean, we did on one side. But
So,
there's
Smitty.
5 people on the line.
Smitty, didn't Jeremy say that when you guys made the trade for Hill? It doesn't matter
I'm sure-
if your quarterback can't hold the ball long enough to throw
I
it
think
out
we've
there.
all said that. I know I've been saying that for the whole year last year. Miami had the worst. I think they statistically had the worst offensive line in the history of football. I think it was definitely worse last year. The worst in the last 20 years.
I don't know. I think Cincinnati had the worst offensive line in NFL last year.
No, I guarantee you it was Miami. Guarantee it.
Well, Cincinnati had more sacks than any other team by a landslide.
True.
Well,
Or
there's a
allowed
difference
more
between-
sacks.
Well, that's true. There were sacks, but I think I'd rather get a sack than. Well, no, I wouldn't rather get a sack. At least that quarterback knew to hold on to the ball and not throw it to the opposing person.
Yep.
So take the sack. Take the
Sack slash interceptions. All right. So you guys caught a bunch of games. I noticed that most of the teams, because it's week 1, almost none of the stars plays. But there was a bunch of teams that decided to start their starters. They ran their first offenses. They ran their first defenses. And
Yeah, for about a series or 2.
no, I saw them play the first quarter. Like
That's about a series or 2.
Yeah, it's true. But
Gymnastics.
so
Gymnastics.
yeah, semantics. That's
Thank
the word.
you.
No,
Gymnastics.
it's synastics now.
It's gymnastics. I put gymnastics and semantics together.
like cinnamon, right, Smitty?
So if
Yeah, cinnamon and
synonym
cinnamon.
And synonym.
Yes.
Cinnamon and synonym.
All right. So if you were the head coach of a team, so Chris, if you were the head coach of the Chicago Bears, would you sit your starters that first game, or would you let them play at least like a series, or would you play them for the first quarter? What would you decide?
Depending on, to me, it kind of depends on the level of the player. Like Justin Fields, he's a second-year player. He needs more reps, especially when you have a bunch of new receivers.
Yeah.
But like an offensive lineman that's a veteran, been in the league 8-9 years, probably doesn't need to start. He knows what he needs to do. So I think it just kind of depends on the player itself.
Okay. So if you're looking at the team you have now, would you, in that first game, would you have played, because I think Justin Fields did play week 1, right?
He played, I think, 2 or 3 series.
Okay, so would you stick with the same kind of stuff where basically your stars are out there for 2 or 3 series the way your coach did, or you have taken them off after one series and said, okay, we don't want to get you hurt. You're going to play in the next game, but you're going to play a little bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could do it that way. Play them 2 series, next game, play them 3 or 4 series. You could kind of build them up throughout the preseason. But at the same time, like, if there's certain things you're wanting to see, you kind of have to go, okay, well, we didn't get to see this week 1, so we're going to keep them in longer, see if we can get to a certain point to see this week 2, or, vice versa. You see what you want to see from those starters. Okay, they're understanding this. This is what they needed to work on. This is what they got to do in real time.
Yeah.
And kind of just, go off of whatever your benchmarks are for that particular player.
Because, like, especially Chicago, they need to use the preseason more of, like, extended practices. Just real-time practices. Mm-hmm. Even though they're doing joint practices, they really need to use it as a real-time practice. All right, so Smitty.
Yes, sir.
You said you watched your third-string quarterback play the whole game.
He did, because Tua didn't play, and Bridgewater had a tight lower back, so he was stretching out, so he didn't play.
Okay. So would you have sat your starters the way they did, or would you, because you're a new head coach this year, you have a bunch of new guys that you've seen at practice, but not in real-time games. They've had joint practices, but not real-time games. Would you have sat your starters for week 1?
I would have. No, I think I would have had 2 out there. I definitely would have had who I wanted to be in the line, the offensive line. My first starter offensive line would have been out there just to see where the biggest mistake is, where the biggest hole is. That even doesn't matter what team it is. That's what went out there. And they don't need to be the whole game, but like 2 or 3 series, so I could see the development, because you're playing real time against the other players.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it kind of also depends on what the other team is doing too, because if they're putting their third stringers out there, or the people trying to make the team, it's really not a good gauge about how well they've gelled. But yes, I probably would have my whole first series, my whole first string out there for 2 series for this game. Yeah, probably. And then the next game. And then I wouldn't play him on the third game.
Let them sit that third game, let them relax.
Yep. Because
Okay.
I've already seen what I need to see. Now I need to see who's going to be on the bubble.
The final bubble makers. All right. So, Jeremy, me and you are Patriots fans.
We are?
Well, I know I am. You used to be a Dallas fan.
No, I was a Emmett and Irvin fan.
Yes, you were. You liked Emmitt Smith because he ran the ball, and you liked Irvin because did he sniff a lot or did he smoke a lot? I can't remember which.
He sniffed a lot. He was a Coke man.
Yes.
He's a hurricane, baby. He's
All right, so the Patriots are a bad pick.
Hey, why don't I get my my choice?
You get to pick your answer. You pick what you would do.
Okay, so it all depends if there's joint practices that week against that team or not. Because if you're doing joint practices, you're putting your starters against their starters in every specific circumstance you want to see how they're going to play, how they're going to react. It's not technically a game, but it's more of a controlled live exercise than even in a game would be, because you don't know if you're going to get some of those situations. Like a 2-minute drill. You don't know if you're going to have the ball the last 2 minutes of the half. You can't really do it. You could do a 2-minute drill at any given point, but the defense isn't going to react like it's a 2-minute drill.
Right.
If it's like 10 minutes left in the first quarter.
Yeah.
So it's like you kind of need that clock and that timing to kind of say, okay, 2-minute drill, you're at your 20, go. Oh, it doesn't look like Fields played at all. But so if you are playing joint practices that week, I don't think you would bother starting your starters. I think if you don't have joint practices, and if you talk to the coach from the other team and say, hey, we're going to start our starters, are you going to start yours? And if he says, no, we're not playing any starters this week, we're only going to start our backups. You go, okay, well, my starters will be in for 1 drive and they're done because they're not playing against other starters.
Yep.
And the big difference for me is that third game, I'd have my starters probably play the first half because they have 2 weeks between the third preseason game and the first regular season game. So they have 2 weeks of practice. You want them out there playing the game, really getting in that flow. Because guess what? That first week, they're going for a whole 60 minutes straight. There's no breaks in theory. So you need to make sure they're okay. That was the half. How are you guys feeling after the half? Do we need to do more conditioning or whatnot this coming week? Because once you're at camp, I don't think most of these teams don't do much conditioning anymore in day-to-day practices because of the new restrictions
Right.
on the amount of practices and whatnot.
Me and Nate actually talked about that. I forgot it was on a show or just privately, but they don't do 2-a-days anymore.
Nope.
You know, we talk about when you watch a football now and you say, oh, the defense is getting tired. They got their hands on their hips and they're breathing really heavy. That wasn't happening in the 70s because those boys were conditioned. They were doing 90 minutes. They were doing,
They're doing 2-a-days.
Hell, they weren't doing that in the early 2000s, but all of a sudden, the players complained, and now they're no. And I think it was the last one in 2000. Was it 2005, 2004?
Mm-hmm.
Was when all of a sudden they complained enough that they changed the when the NFLPA came back, was due again. They said that they were no longer going to allow 2-a-day practices, and they weren't going to sign it if they wanted to keep 2-a-day practices.
Right.
So they said, fine, we'll give up 2-a-days. You now only have a single practice, but you're now going to do a lot more.
Speed.
It'll be a lot more studying instead of on-field practices, basically. There'll be a lot, instead of that time being on the field, you'll now be still required to be at the facility at some sort of meeting if that meeting is scheduled.
Right, and I know they still do conditioning, like in the gyms and things of that sort.
But it's nothing like that you were before.
Playing the game with everything on and doing it right. So, and that's why a lot of teams in the fourth quarter, the offenses start to get a little hotter. It's not necessarily the offenses are getting hotter. The defense is getting weaker.
Yeah, tired.
Yeah, they're getting tired out there. And then I understand that completely because they're not conditioned. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm pretty sure every player in the NFL right now is in a better condition than any player in the 80s.
Yeah.
I guarantee it.
Hell, I'm dealing with a bunch of 6, 7, 8-year-olds that don't understand that if you don't run now, you're going to be dying at the end of the game. And we have our first jamboree game coming up this weekend. There's a lot of them that don't understand that you need to sprint now in practice and be dead when you're walking off the field tonight. Like every night this past 3 weeks, instead of you're going to be halfway through the game and be sucking wind, hoping that you're going to die on the sideline, be forced so you don't have to go back in. Right. They don't understand that. All right. Yep. It's just like you and Chris Smitty were like almost the same kind of answer where Jeremy was like, nope, it all depends on what's going on. I don't even need the Patriots. I'll just call it all.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what team it is. It's a generic statement on how you approach the season going into it.
But then you got to hope that your opponent coach is going to be honest with you and say, no, I'm not going to start my starters. And then
it's a preseason. It don't matter at this point.
Screw you.
It's preseason. Unless you're the Baltimore Ravens, you don't care about winning.
Yeah. They're the only ones that care about winning the preseason because they're trying to beat some kind of record. Because didn't they win last week?
They're 21 in a row.
Yeah, so they now hold the record for the most preseason games won in a row. And
consecutive preseason games.
Yeah, consecutive preseason. Well, in a row, it also means consecutive. But anyhow, that is like the last person to do it was Green Bay Packers back when Vince Lombardi was a thing because he said winning starts now. But like Vince Lombardi won 2 Super Bowls, and before that, many championships games because there was no Super Bowl before that. Where you got the Baltimore Ravens who make it to the playoffs and then lose.
If they make it to the playoffs, yes.
Yes, if they even make it to the playoffs.
I think they're overrated this year a little bit.
They're going to be overrated as long as that quarterback runs the ball.
Lamar Jackson?
Yes.
Till he gets hurt yet again.
He has a name, Travis. He has a name.
Yes, he has a name. Yes, a running back that can kind of throw a ball. He's not accurate at all.
Well, we've had those for many years in the NFL.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's just like at least they were semi-accurate.
No, Vic was not accurate at all. They're electrifying because of what they can do with the ball in their hands, and it's a short time span that they can be electric because a few hits the wrong way, all of a sudden you have leg issues, and they linger and they nag, and then they're hesitant because they're afraid, oh, am I going to do that again to my leg? Am I going to do that to my leg? Something's going to go.
Or you end up murdering dogs. So
that happens too. All right.
Well, he got hurt before that, so he was already on the downwards turn.
He was kind of like Zach Wilson for the Jets.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is Zach Wilson. Speaking of the.
Well, he's murdering cougars though.
Yes, he's taking out cougars left and right. So he was diagnosed with a torn meniscus and bone bruise in his right knee. He's out for 2 to 4 weeks, so that means that he's not going to start the regular season.
More than likely, he may be ready for the regular.
No, they already said Joe Flacco's starting week 1 at least.
So
because they don't want to put him right back in after he comes back, they want to give him a few weeks to kind of recover.
If you put Joe Flacco out there, and Flacco is a decent quarterback.
He's a very streaky. He's a streaky quarterback.
Right. So if Flacco goes out there, wins week 1, and so you say Wilson, he's not ready to go week 2. Okay, so you put Flacco out there again. He wins week 2. Do you stick with Flacco until he loses?
Nope.
No.
You're 2 weeks in the season. The real question is if the Browns are like 10-1, and Watson comes back. Do you bench Brissett or do you stay with Brissett
that is a good question.
Keep Watson on the sidelines?
Well, the thing
that's the question, because there's a few weeks isn't enough to really set a precedent. I mean, if you are 11 weeks, that's a long enough time to kind of set the precedent that, okay, yeah, we might have spent all this money to get him, but is it worth it to upset the
balance? The balance of the force.
What our team currently has going on.
And the NFL has a lot of history with very similar things to this, because with Wilson, I put Wilson in as soon as he's ready to play, because Wilson is young. He got a lot of football before him. He could be the quarterback for the next 15 years, while Flacco was on his way out. So the Dolphins did in 72.
72.
Bob
you
Greasy
were the only one that was alive at that point in time. I know you were like, it was your first lifetime when you had, your first set of kids? 72?
Yes. And, Earl Merle went in and they kept winning games. And as soon as Greasy was healthy enough, which I believe was right before the Super Bowl.
Oh, Brian Greasy? I remember that name.
Bob Greasy.
Bob Greasy. Oh, so it was his dad.
Yeah, so they put him back in. Don Shula put him back in after missing the majority of the season, because Earl Merle was 37 years old or something, and you go with Bob. But like Jeremy said, it's a better question is about the Browns, because if Deshaun Watson comes back and Browns are 10-1, who do you go with? Well, you do what Bill Belichick did. This kid over here, his name's Tom. Yeah. We're keeping him playing in. We know you're okay, Drew. We know. But we're going to go ahead and keep Tom because we're winning with Tom.
Yep.
And we're not going to mess up the dynamic. We're going to let that go.
The one thing that Bill Belichick got right from the get-go. All right. So now we know that if the Browns are winning, Jeremy and Bill Smitty would not change their quarterback. They would stick with Brissett and not screw up things. Chris is watching, it's a commercial currently, but he's watching the Chicago
hearing
game.
aid commercial.
Yeah. Because Chris needs hearing aids. It's in the military. They always need hearing aids, right, Smitty?
What?
What?
You just have your headset turned all the way up. I hear you guys get to make some money if you have hearing loss and you used a certain kind of earplugs.
Well, I had those earplugs and the time frame that they were being used, and I've seen the commercials and stuff, and I've never called anyone because I'm pretty sure I'm already getting my 10% for tendonitis. I mean, I know I'm getting my 10% for tendonitis, so I'm going to leave that alone. They can go ahead and do it. They go have that class action and get $100 million to 500,000 people.
And-
Here's your $10 check.
You're like, they're like, here's your 50 cents. You're like, thanks.
Thanks. I'd rather just get my $140 a month forever than
There you go.
deal with that.
All right. So I think the last thing I had talked about, I had really heard about on the radio and everywhere else, is this season seems more than ever before. I have heard about teams like infighting, like breaking down the fisticuffs, and like breaking down, infighting with the teams, and then fighting with the joint practice teams. Am I the only one that's noticing this, or is this like rampant this year more than ever before?
You're just now noticing it because it happened at the Patriots game. That's why.
No, I
always-
always hear about one or two teams. This year, it's like 10 or 12 teams I've heard about.
It's been pretty.
It's consistent. It's been consistent. Probably. I mean, because of COVID, the past few years, it's kind of been more calm because either they weren't doing joint practices or kind of was hit or it was very limited joint practices.
Yeah.
But before that, when joint practices were going on, there was usually scrums on a daily.
And it's true, and I was just kind of messing about you, because it happened in the Patriots game. But you are in an area, and you mentioned this, where that's what you're bombarded with is Patriot news.
Mm-hmm. So
it's bombarded you. So you probably pay more attention to it. It's kind of like when you buy a new car, you never really noticed it before, but now that's all you do is see that car everywhere you are.
Yeah.
But there's been scrums like this, and Patriots don't usually get in fights like this at all because
it's just it's weird that
20
the Patriots
years
are getting
they had
like
a
that.
team. They knew where they were going. They were positive, and now they might be a little bit on shaky ground. So the players are getting a little ticked off with each other and other players, and they want to make the team. So,
all right, Jared. Now what you were saying?
It's because you listen to the local radio for Patriots up there.
Well,
so you're bombarded with everything Patriot-wise. And that's why you never really heard past the point of other teams getting in fights. I mean, you'd see here and there on Facebook and whatnot, but it was never really all the time. But if you listen to like a national sports station, they're always discussing them. There was a fight here. There was a fight there. There was this incident there. There was this incident there. These players were kicked out of practice because of this. These players were kicked out of practice because of that.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said about the Patriots, is you really didn't see the Patriots mostly, I think, and God, I hate saying good things about this man, but whether you're good or bad, you had Tom Brady, who is you can't argue it, great leader.
Yes.
He's a great leader. He has to be for that team. And nothing against the Patriots and what happened this year, let's tell Bill Belichick, but I don't see a leader like heads and above
on the field.
On the field. They had that with Tom Brady, so that those little fights would happen. Like Tom Brady wasn't gonna have that. I mean, he might get into a shouting match with somebody, but you're gonna listen to Tom. You can do what Tom said, and you're gonna respect him for it. And that hasn't built itself up yet in the Patriots, and that's probably why you're seeing that out of the games that they're playing now.
I mean, especially because it's the Patriots versus the Panthers. Panthers definitely don't have that kind of.
Oh, Panthers are pieces of Panther piss.
Yeah, they don't have that person that can demand anything from them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the Patriots, they have a few veterans, but they're far and few between now. There are a lot more younger people than true veterans that have been there. And most of their veterans aren't even originally their players.
No.
Yes. Yeah, so it's going to be a very interesting year for the Patriots. It's going to be, I mean, heck, they could easily go 12-5, or they could go 5-12. I personally think it'll be probably 10 wins, but it's going to be interesting for the Patriots. It's going to be interesting for a lot of teams.
I'm really
excited. I'm really excited.
The question is, how many games do you have to win to make the postseason this year?
Yeah.
In the AFC?
Yeah.
12,
13.
That was going to be my question of the week. This question of the week. How many games do you have to win to get in the playoffs?
Well, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at me roll you right into it.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Jay. I didn't have to. That was wonderful. Yeah.
So let's start with Chris, who hasn't paid attention in the last 10 minutes. Chris, what is your guess that in the AFC, how many wins it's going to take to make the playoffs this year?
By the way, there's 17 games.
Yes.
Thank you, Smitty.
Well, I don't know if you were sure or not because college is only 11 or 13.
I'm gonna go with 9.
9 in the AFC, really? Jeremy,
Well,
where are you at on that?
I'm at 11.
You're at 11.
Well, I think
I'm at playoff wise. I'll say 10 because they have expanded the playoffs, and now
Yes, but that means that
But last year we had a team that had 9 wins last year make the playoffs. So I'm gonna say 10 because now we have more. Like the teams have gotten better in the AFC. The NFC seems to be the problem child right now.
yeah.
So I'm
yeah,
gonna say
the-
10 minimum, and in the AFC, and maybe 6 in the NFC.
Well, the thing is, what Chris said, I think he might not even meant to do this, but he kind of hit the nail on the head there because I think, depending on which part of the AFC we're talking about, because if you're in the East with the Bills, the Patriots, the Dolphins, and the Jets, the Bills are probably going to win the division, I would think.
Yeah.
And I don't think if you win 11 games, you're going to make it in the AFC East. But if you're in the AFC West, I think they're going to beat each other up so much. The best team is going to have only 10 wins. So
Well,
you can make, so
you got to think that's 6 games against each other. So even if they split them all, that's only 3
well, that's
losses
true.
in theory. So now
Well,
you're 14-3.
Yeah. So that's a good point. But with and then you got the AFC North. I don't think Ravens are going to do well. I think Pittsburgh's going to do better than most people think. And then you have
The
no one's
Bengals.
talking about Bengals. No one's talking about them. So
No, they're
I
a
think
sleeper team.
11 games get you in the playoffs. But I think
the
you gotta win
Bengals
13
is
to
the
win
AFC.
division.
I think the Bengals are the AFC sleeper team this year
Even though they went to the Super Bowl last year. See,
Yeah.
how does that make any sense?
because of the Bengals. They can do that and then be the worst team in the league. They are professionals at doing that.
No, we're not talking about Cleveland. We're not talking about a team
Neither
that
one of them
ever
are much
plays.
better than each
Every
other.
time something goes good for them, that's not even Detroit. Detroit just has a curse on them.
Yeah,
But
Detroit's
talking
cursed.
about-
Well, it's because Ford owns them, so they're going to be cursed
Yeah.
forever.
So, but as far as the NFC goes, I think 10 wins get you in the playoffs.
Yeah, 9, 8, 9.
I
Especially
still say 11.
I'll go with
yeah,
the
okay.
AFC.
That's winning a division, just to make it in the playoffs.
Yeah, making
No, I'm
it into the
thinking to make it
playoffs.
into the playoffs.
I'm
you,
saying
you
10.
may have a division winner that has less, but to make it in the playoffs, I think you need 11 wins.
Well,
I
look
mean,
at last year with Miami and Patriots. Patriots were 10-7, right?
Yep.
Patriots had 10 wins, and
And
they
they
were the
went
final
up.
wild card spot.
Yeah.
Right. And Miami was 9-8, and they missed it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's probably the same line.
And the only reason they missed it is because they lost that last game. Because if they had tied the Patriots, the Pats would have been out. I think
That's
was.
true.
No, because they were playing a team actually that was the Pats played week 1.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't.
Pats played the Dolphins week 1 last year.
No, that week 1 of the playoffs.
I
Oh,
feel like between the Chiefs, they'll still make it, and the Broncos, they're going to be a big step up.
That's what we will say. I think Broncos
Along with the Raiders and the Chargers.
The Raiders
I
are
wouldn't
going
be
this
surprised
year.
if all 3 wildcard teams came out of that division.
That's
Or
possible, but I don't think the Broncos. I think the Broncos are a 500 team at best.
I
say-
know
I'm
they
saying
have a
it
good
right now.
defense.
They do, but they win 9 games. I'm just saying it right now.
That's your
So
call.
record this. So when they have won 15 games, you can push it back in my face. Okay.
All right.
And I'm going to say this: Chicago wins at least bare minimum 1 game. I promise you, they're going to win at least 1 game.
Got that, Chris? Got your hopes all up now?
One regular
So,
season
Say
game
4, but
No, I think
because they're on
think,
their way to winning 2 preseason games.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, I guess this question. I know we're probably running a long time, but I don't care.
So Smitty says 9 to 10. Which one, 9 or 10?
10. Yeah.
Travis, what'd you say?
I went with 10.
Chris said 9. And you said 11. So I think we're all pretty safe. But what team do you think is really, just, I
Who
talked
are
about like
locks?
the ones no one's talking about and the ones that but what team isn't making the playoffs that made it last year? What team is not making the playoffs that made it last year?
Patriots.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they're going to have a big problem with the new offensive coordinator group that they got going on.
I think the Bills are the only one coming out of the AFC East.
Mm-hmm.
That's possible.
The Pats have a tougher season this year because they won more games, so now they're playing all the number 2s. And most of the number 2s that they're going to face are better than they were last year.
I mean, it's just that AFC West is just those 4 teams are just
they're juggernauts.
They are.
Yeah, they went out and said, "Oh yeah, Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs, it's our turn now. We're going all in."
Yeah. The NFL said that it was Mahomes' time, and the rest of the AFC said no.
So did the Cardinals make the playoffs last year?
Yes, they did. They were the number 2 seed.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I think they missed it this year.
I thought we were only talking AFC.
Oh, it doesn't matter. It's any team.
Well, you said AFC team, didn't you?
I said any team what team do you think is not going to make? We were talking about the AFC, and
this was his second question. This was his second question.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Arizona doesn't make it.
Okay.
Yeah, he just signed a massive contract. They're not making it this year.
Well, no, he signed a massive contract. DeAndre Hopkins is out for the first 6 weeks because of PEDs.
Yes, I forgot about him.
Yeah, that team is...
They can't close the last 6 games of the year. They just can't win anything.
You know, it's that lack of film study.
Yes. It's all those video games he's playing.
You know, I'm really hurt by you all because you said the Pats are going to make the playoffs possibly. But that's not because Miami's going to. It's because the AFC West is. See, that just hurts my feelings. You know what? That's fine. That's fine.
The only reason I can see the Miami actually making the playoffs is if that offensive line actually works out.
If that offensive line is even 50% better than it was last year, Miami will win at least 2 more games, which will give them a fighting chance to make the playoffs.
Yes, because
that put them at 11 wins, and they have a fighting chance to make the playoffs.
Yes.
I told you 11 wins.
Oh, 10 so I guess Jeremy might be right. Wow. Okay.
Full circle. Full circle.
All right, guys. So is there anything else we want to shoot the crap about? No? Is everybody good? Everybody got anything we want to talk about in? Jeremy? You look like you were going to say something.
No, I'm good.
All right, so we want to wrap this thing up. Bye, everybody.
That's all, folks.
See you next week. Same time, same channel. If you want to catch Smitty on another time, you can watch him on the Wake Up with Nate and Smitty tomorrow, and it'll be on Florida Storm.